lots of us scurrying into the underground, and myself, I discovered the internet, and in 1993 we started the Alarm.com website, and it's one of the first bands to have a website. And Jules and I used to go and watch. We used to go to these Beatles conventions in Liverpool, and they were in a small hotel, and I used to think, wow, I'd love to see something like this spring up around the Alarm. I know we're not the Beatles, and it's not going to happen that kind of way, but we could start our own kind of thing, and we started an event in Wales called The Gathering, some of you may have been to, and we encouraged our fans. It was an opportunity for me to stay at home and let the fans do the touring and the suitcases and the aeroplanes. I thought, that's a good idea, that is. I almost trademarked it, you know. But anyway, The Gathering, and having this base in Wales and having a great... The Alarm.com opened up a way to communicate with all our audience that we'd touch base with on these epic rock and roll tours, and then life would change, and we'd maybe not have quite the same impact or the same abilities, and our generation of audience was moving on and dealing with their own lives, having their own stories to tell, and building their children and their businesses and their everything that goes with living a life. And so the Alarm.com became as a great way to start communicating with people when they pull out their vinyl record and dust it off, and they go The Alarm in their search engine, and there we are waiting. And it gave us a whole chance to regroup and reconnect with our audiences. But when the Alarm came to being again in the 2000s, the whole of the music industry had changed. There was a whole perception against us, and because the band didn't quite have the same original lineup as it did, and all those kind of things. We were in our 40s, you know, as if that meant we were going to write rubbish songs again. You know. And anyway, we felt we were making a series of records for the Alarm called In the Poppy Fields, and it involved making 5 albums in 5 months, and it was quite an undertaking. But it allowed me as a songwriter to go into areas where I might not have gone to if I'd only had to think about 10 or 12 songs required. So sort of 54 songs later, and we had this vast amount of work, and then we asked our fans to vote for 12 songs that they thought should be on the record, and one of the songs that rose to the top in the vote very quickly was a song we had called 45 RPM, and it was kind of out of character in some ways to the Alarm. In fact, it nearly never saw the light of day because I thought it sounded like something the beginnings of the Alarm are rooted in a punk band called The Toilets. And we played with the Clash and the Buzzcocks, and it reminded me of something from that era, so I wasn't that kind of pushing it forward, but the guys heard me fiddling about with the guitar riff that went like this, sort of. And they said, "What's that?" I said, "Well, it's this new song. I don't know anything you'd like that." I said, "What else goes with it?" And anyway, I showed them, and we came up with this track, and it's called 45 RPM. And we were coming to America as the Alarm again, and we created this event called the Alarm Make a Stand in the USA, and it was 25 years since we first came to America with U2 in 1983 then, and it was whatever year it was. I'll do the sums in my head now. And was it? Yeah, okay. 2000. No, it wasn't. It was 2003. Yeah, 2003, because we just did Bands Reunited for VH1. I don't know if you ever saw that program. But we did Bands Reunited, and in fact, funny enough, when the VH1 cameras came to surprise me to do Bands Reunited, they came down the steps in Manchester Academy after being set up, and they said to me, "Mike, you know, X the Alarm." I said, "No, I'm still in the Alarm." And they said, "Well, you know, we haven't played for a long time." I said, "Well, no, I'm actually going to America next week to do the Alarm Make a Stand in America tour." I said, well, we still want you to sign this record, and will you play with your old bandmates for one time, all the ones that aren't in the Alarm anymore? I said, "Yeah, sure, of course." I signed a copy of Eye of the Hurricane. And I phoned the rest of the band and said, "Hey, guys, I've just been doorstopped by VH1. They're putting this Bands Reunited thing together." He goes, "We've all been had." I was like, "Wow, okay." So anyway, so it happened, and it was a great event, and all the guys who were in the Alarm in the modern era helped the guys from the original era set the gear up and do the whole gig, and it was a great event, and we were really grateful for the chance that the reunion show would be filmed and seen around the world and everything like that. So it worked out well for us. But the next day after bands reunited, we came to America on this tour called the Alarm Make a Stand in the USA, and the idea of the tour was we played New York on a Monday night, Boston on a Wednesday night, Chicago on a Thursday night, Los Angeles on a Friday night, and then we flew back and did it all again with shows in between. And so on the last night, we'd gone to see, on the night off, on the Sunday night, we went to see, in New York, we went to see Rancid, and they were all big Alarm fans, and Lars and Tim Armstrong were all over us, and they said, right, we're coming to see you in the Knitting Factory tomorrow, can't wait. So we go on stage at the Knitting Factory, and we play this song called 45 RPM. We dedicate it to Tim Armstrong and Lars from Rancid. Played the song. Anyway, the next thing on the internet, this rumour goes around that Rancid have written a new song for the Alarm. And that's what gave me this idea. We didn't deny it. We were quite pleased to be associated with a new generation of people, of musicians and fans. And so in 2004, I went down to meet a record plugger called Dylan White. He was the heaviest weight British guy in music you could have. He was U2's record plugger. He took all their records he did Oasis, everything you could think of he did. So I went into him with this bit of a plan, and I went in to play him the new Alarm record, and I said, look Dylan, we've got this record here by the Alarm, and I was with my friend who's the guitarist in the Alarm, James Stevenson, and he's in the Cult as well with Billy Duffy as well. And James and I knew Dylan White, and we kind of knew that we had a set-up plan, so that if he didn't want to like the record, we had a plan B. So I went in, I said, look Dylan, here's the new Alarm record. He said, look mate, I've got to be honest, there's nothing I could do for you at the moment. I love you and the band and all that, but it's from another time, and it's all moved on, and everyone's into new stuff, and it's not as if the new hit bands, it's not as if Oasis are name dropping you at the moment, or Blur are saying how cool you are. They just they're not into it, And so if I went to radio, there's not a lot I could do. So rather than disrespect you, I'd rather not play the record, and let's leave it at that and see how it goes. Okay, so we left it at that. And then James started talking about the old days, and then James had a plan. Not James Chippendale, James Stevenson. But it's a very much in the idiom of a James Chippendale kind of thing. He said, Mike's managing this band from Wales, a new band, and they're really good. And he said, let me hear that then. So I got the record out of my bag. There's no markings on it at all. Put it in his CD player, and the song bursts out, and he goes, see this, Mike? I can get that on the radio just like that. Right in my face. And I said, that's the new Alarm record, mate. Anyway, he was like, okay. So he said, let me just play it to a couple of people and see what happens. So he took it up to Radio 1, and he started playing to people like Steve Lamacq, who was the new John Peel, and Chris Moores, who was the big radio player in Britain at the time. And then he phones me about a week later. He says, Mike, they love this record. They freaked out. And I said, what did they say when you told them it was the Alarm? He goes, I didn't have the courage to tell him it was the Alarm. I would have blown him. So we released the record under the title of our album, The Poppy Fields. And we created a fake band. We got 4 young guys in to mime to the video. And we sent it out for review to the NME, and Radio 1 were playing it and put it on the A-list and saying this is the best new band in Britain. And the NME, who hated the Alarm, were like, oh, this is the sort of band that come to the party. They're all young. They steal the beer. They go home with the best looking girls. They sound like the Clash meets Rancid. The best new band since the Sex Pistols. And I thought, well, they got that right. So the record came into the UK top 20. It smashed into the charts with our own fans. We promoted it to the Alarm fans as just be from our new album, The Poppy Fields, and they went out and bought it, and new people bought it, and it became a huge hit. And it was on Top of the Pops. We went on Top of the Pops to play their song because it was in the top 40, and it was there that we said, look, this isn't the Poppy Fields, this is the Alarm in disguise. And bang, out it goes. Nice. And the story's out the bag. So Radio 1 dropped the record instantly, blacklisted it, but it became the subject of a massive story. It went round the world, and it broke on the BBC News and Wales Online, and then the next minute we're getting a call from CBS News in America, and it's Dan Rather on the phone. We want to talk to you about this record. And we ended up on CBS News, and it was the Welsh band The Alarm stormed the British charts and fooled the entire music industry. and then we got a call from the guys who produced the Shrek movies, and they said, we want to make a film, which they did. And the film's just come out in Britain, and it's before we left in the early part of the year, we did an Alarm tour supporting the film. The film's called Vinyl. It's a kind of fictitious take. It stars Phil Daniels, who's in Quadrophenia, the Who movie, and it's a great British movie. It's going to be, and it's got a premiere in Leicester Square, and we had a massive event, and it became a huge hit in Britain. It's coming out all in the next few weeks. It played in a lot of film festivals in America, but it was a very low budget film in the end. But it's coming out in DVDs, and it's going to be on Sky Box Office and HBO and all that kind of stuff, and iTunes and everywhere. And it's a great film to check out if you get a chance. And The Alarm do the entire soundtrack, and this is the song that kicked it all off, and this is called 45 RPM.
The spiral scratch gave me my life back. Final solution ended my confusion. I heard a voice in the noise. Pollution. Oh, 45 RPM, 45, 45 RPM, 45, 45 RPM, keep on running till the end. 45 RPM, RPM, RPM. The two sevens clash kickstarted my life soundtrack. A sonic revolution broke the disillusion. I heard a voice in the noise. Pollution. Oh, 45 RPM, 45, 45 RPM, 45, 45 RPM, keep on running till the end. 45 RPM, RPM, revolutions per minute. And the voice in the noise pollution. 45 RPM, 45 RPM, 45 RPM.